let's move on. Okay. Can I say go to Nozick and then let's move on to NC and go to Nozick?
I would say move to the NC, start on Nozick, or move to the NC framework, then start on Nozick, right? So they can go
to NC framework and
then start on Nozick, make the argument.
Okay. Let's move on to NC framework.
You don't need to put your hand behind your back. Just don't pull on your pants, okay? Go ahead.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to Nozick. So Nozick's argument is that that was bad word economy.
Don't tell us what Nozick's argument is. We know what it is.
Okay.
Just make the argument. Unless your argument relies on something that Nozick is saying as a
Yeah, actually.
Okay, then go ahead and do that.
Nozick talks about how individuals have rights and how... Okay.
No, just, I want you to think more about words right now.
Okay. Not extend Nozick. No. Nozick talks about how individuals have rights and those rights are inviolable. However, turn this and this turned by saying turn.
However, turn.
Nozick is actually functioning under my side of the flow because of the fact that,
Okay, what's the argument you want to make? Just tell me, without being debated.
I want to make the argument that, so Nozick is talking about how individuals have rights, and those are great and stuff. So what I want to say is that compulsory voting will actually promote people to exercise more rights, because it's making people become more autonomous beings.
Okay.
And have more access to rights and self-government or something.
I think there are a couple problems with that argument.
Okay.
The first one is Nozick is talking about a negative right to liberty, right? Nozick is talking about how the only obligation of the state is to protect rights.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's all Nozick is saying.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's the obligation of the minimal state is to protect rights. There are a couple of arguments that I would make. I like the idea of making a turn on it. Do you have anything in the Schaeffer, like in the case that talks about like minority participation? I can't remember.
I don't think so. I'm using one as the minority thing from Schaeffer.
It's college. I don't know that.
So, well, you have to go.
It's okay. It's okay.
So the argument that I would make a couple of them. I would say first of all, there's no link to morality, which we've talked about. There's no link to morality. You can't be evaluated as a moral framework. Second, my framework's going to come first because we have to respect the meta-ethical property of human dignity for everybody. So that's going to come before his framework can even function. Third, like you got a lot of levels on his framework, but those are two defensive arguments that are going to knock out his framework. And then you have to also win his framework, right? So framework is a different type of argument than anything else. Normally I would say you should make only offensive arguments, and on framework I would say that you should have a couple of defensive arguments that get rid of his framework, right? Remember I told you guys that only arguments that you should be making are the ones that are winning you the round or the ones that are stopping your opponent from winning the round, right? If your opponent is accessing some sort of framework, you have to beat that framework first and then operate under it. It's a two-pronged approach, right?
So do you think I can still operate under this framework?
Well, if you don't, you have to find a way because that's the most strategic option. What I would do is maybe even read extraneous cards like maybe read like the Schaeffer card that talks about minority representation. It talks about, look, this is within the government's. There's, you know which card I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. This is within the government's rights, right? And like because the government is protecting rights by employing compulsory voting because the rights of minorities are being protected, right? Policies are now coming about that are protecting minority rights instead of this other sort of thing. So you're going to be winning on that framework anyway. And then I would maybe find a couple more things that might turn rights to your side, right? Like I would maybe talk about even like the Voting Rights Act or something like that. Just make a little analytical argument about like things that the government does that are really terrible to disenfranchise voters, and if we implement compulsory voting, that's going to solve back the rights problem, which is going to meet his framework.
Oh, yeah, that's clever.
Yeah, I mean, you should come up with as many turns as you possibly can. And then he's going to spend a lot of time on a few of them, but not all of them. and then you can be like, oh, this one that he didn't spend a lot of time on is actually the important one. Right? It's all this very strategic kind of sneaky game that you have to play. So what I would do is I want to hear you at some point, but work on, and you're doing ACT this week, but work on coming up with a really strong set of like 5 or 6 arguments against his framework alone.
All offensive?
No. Probably like a couple. Like I've already given you a few, right? No link to morality. First of all, meta-ethic comes first. And by the way, that's an outweighing argument, right? Meta-ethic comes first, and then make a couple. Find 3 turns to make against his case, and just practice delivering those turns, and then practice the implication, right? So after you've read all 3 turns, you can be like, this means I'm clearly upholding rights better, so even if you buy that Nozick is the superior moral standard, which it isn't, I'm still winning the round on any of these 3 turns independently.
Great.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
All right.
Yeah. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry for leaving you early.
Oh, it's all good, man. You've got the ACT. I know it's important.
Wait, you have it today?
No, my parents just want me to focus on it. More, higher this week.